Okay. So welcome to Elliptical Eccentricity for Capital Efficiency. My name's Josh. I'm part of the core team at Gyroscope. Last year we deployed a new stablecoin, and as part of the stablecoin system, we created this whole new automated market maker known as the Gyroscope Elliptical Concentrated Liquidity Pool, ECLP. So in this talk, I'll be going through a brief refresher on the evolution of AMMs. We'll explore the ECLP's predecessors and their benefits and drawbacks. Then I'll present the ECLP, how it fits within the evolution of AMM design and how it provides these unparalleled benefits within these specific use cases. And I'll also show you how to construct one from scratch. And finally, I'll discuss the use cases of the ECLP where it really adds as a value-adding novel innovation because of its flexibility. Okay, so first, a refresher on automated market makers. We have Uniswap's constant product market maker design, also known as the XY equals K, where X and Y are the quantity of the reserves for each asset, and K is the constant or the invariant. So the constant product market maker design was an instance of the more general constant function market maker, which prices trading pairs implicitly via this constant trading function, which takes as input the reserves of the trading assets and constrains trading to a level curve according to an invariant. However, the nature of the invariant curve XY equals K means that the liquidity is reserved for trading activity across the entire price range from 0 to infinity. So this is good for guaranteeing trading volumes at all prices, but thinly spreading liquidity over the entire range leads to increased slippage, which increases impermanent loss and results in low capital efficiency. So the next design question is it possible to focus liquidity into a range, since many trading pairs fall within a given range, particularly stablecoin pairs? So next up we have StableSwap in 2019. So Curve came up with a solution by combining both the constant product and the constant sum market makers to create this hybrid market maker. So since price is the derivative or the gradient of the trading function at any given point, the StableSwap curve quotes the price of 1, which then exponentially increases or exponentially decreases as you move sufficiently away from 1. The StableSwap function also has this amplification coefficient parameter A, which means that the lower it is, the closer the trading curve is to a constant product, and the higher it is, the closer it is to a constant sum, or a straight line trading curve. So this parameter allows curve pools to cater to the capital requirements of individual markets instead of this one-size-fits-all approach of the constant product pool. So this means that StableSwap is an excellent solution for price-related trading pairs, such as stable coins or state ETH, where prices are expected to remain in this finite band around 1, since having a linear trading curve and a constant price around the price of 1 means that StableSwap benefits from extremely low slippage trades within the flat range. However, it also provides liquidity for trades across the entire price range, leading to capital inefficiency for the same reasons as the constant product curve. And then in May 2021, we had Uniswap v3. It represented this large advancement in AMM design because it introduced this concept of concentrated liquidity. So this means that liquidity providers could specify over which price range they wanted to provide liquidity, in effect gaining this multiplier on their provisions and leveraging their position. So this has the dual benefits of both increased returns for the liquidity providers and reduced slippage for traders within the specified price range. The downside is that when the price falls outside this concentrated liquidity range, there's zero trading activity, and therefore no fees accrue to the liquidity providers. However, as mentioned earlier, this may not prove to be an issue for related trading pairs. In Uniswap v3, liquidity providers can open multiple positions with differing multipliers across the trading range, and they can combine these different positions to custom tailor their liquidity provision profile as they see fit. They can also alter the profile dynamically in response to changes in market circumstances. The issue with this is that this active position management introduces complexity which the average DeFi user may not want to or may not be able to handle. And also, since LP positions are NFTs instead of these ERC20 LP tokens, fees are not automatically fed back into the protocol, and therefore the fees don't automatically compound as with the previous AMM designs. Okay, so is it possible to combine the capital efficiency of Uniswap v3 with the minimal slippage of StableSwap? Can we provide liquidity only within a given range, so in other words, concentrated liquidity, while also maintaining the ease of use and minimal position management? And can liquidity providers get higher fees and can traders face lower slippage, like with concentrated liquidity, while also ensuring that the fees are added back to the pool and are auto-compounded without any required intervention? And of course, the answer to all these questions is yes. So enter Gyroscope's ECLP, the Elliptical Concentrated Liquidity Pool. So Gyroscope's brand new Elliptical Concentrated Liquidity Pool represents this step forward in AMM design and innovation. So the trading curve is constructed from an ellipse, from circle, ellipse which is constructed from a circle by applying a series of linear transformations. So first it's stretched with the center at its origin, and then it's rotated, and finally it's shifted. Trading occurs along the side of the ellipse, which is monotonically decreasing. The ECLP provides pool constructors a greater number of parameters to tinker with and to optimize the shape of the trading curve, for optimized capital efficiency in the specific market use case. So let's construct an ECLP ourselves and see how changing the parameters can optimize the curve for certain use cases. Okay, so start off with the circles centered in the origin, our classic x squared plus y squared equals radius squared. The circle is then stretched into an ellipse by this factor lambda. You can see the corresponding matrix which represents this linear transformation. The ellipse is then rotated anti-clockwise by angle phi. Again, there's the linear transformation. And finally, the ellipse is translated by some vector AB, such that the new origin is now at AB. So as you can imagine, the combination of all these parameters, the stretch factor lambda, the rotation angle phi, and the translation vector AB, provides this ton of flexibility with which to optimize the ECLP for particular use cases. So for example, stretching the ellipse increases its eccentricity, which means that the ellipse has this broader, flatter area and allows for lower slippage trades similar to stable swap. Then rotating the ellipse can increase or decrease the peg price, which is where the slippage is minimized. And shifting the ellipse allows the constructor to alter where it intersects the x-axis and the y-axis. So in other words, to alter where the price range over which the ECLP accepts these trades. So the ECLP provides concentrated liquidity similar to Uniswap v3 by constraining trading to within this trading range, alpha to beta. The prices alpha and beta are determined by the slope of the ellipse where it intersects the x and y axes. The next interesting parameter of the ECLP is the peg price, which is the price where the ellipse is at its flattest, and therefore it's the price where there is the lowest price impact. So note that the peg price doesn't have to be symmetrical around one, unlike stable swap, and this is because of our ability to translate that ellipse anywhere. So this is super useful in use cases where perhaps you want to focus most of the liquidity in the upper bound of the trading curve, but you also want to reserve some liquidity for low probability cases nearer the lower bound. Mathematically, the peg price is calculated as the tan of the rotation angle phi. To see this, note how the peg price gradient line, when extended, creates this angle phi with the x-axis. Interestingly, the peg price doesn't even have to lie within the trading range. In this case, the price impact of a given trade increases as you move away from the peg price. In other words, the convexity of the trading curve increases as you move away. So this can be useful where you want most illiquidity focused at one end of the trading range. Okay, so now you can understand the key parameters in our UI for the ECLPs. Alpha and beta are the price constraints, the peg price, and lambda the stretch factor. Okay, so let's discuss some of the benefits of the ECLP. Liquidity where you need it. Unlike stable swap, the ECLP's asymmetric price ranges allows you to unevenly distribute liquidity within its finite and concentrated range. So for example, where prices are bound from above by 1 and from below by 0.5, but are expected to trade mainly around 1, the ECLP can unevenly distribute liquidity at the upper end of the range. Using the curve of an ellipse allows for these highly customizable trading curves, and the ECLP can be calibrated to approximate any desirable trading curve. There's also low operational burdens on liquidity providers. So unlike with Uniswap v3, all liquidity providers to ECLPs are within a given price range or a single tick. So this means that liquidity providers don't have to actively manage their position between ticks, making it easier to passively manage their position. Setting the shape of the trading curve on initiation transfers the burden of liquidity profile management to pool constructors and away from the liquidity providers. So in Uniswap v3, with extreme flexibility comes extreme responsibility, and LPers are required to set their own liquidity profile by combining these v3 positions as we discussed. So this may be practical for highly sophisticated DeFi users, but it's not always practical for everyone. And the lack of need for active position management with the ECLP avoids this arms race as liquidity providers scramble to update and optimize their positions with the incoming new market information. So this also allows for lower barriers for entry for liquidity providers. Just join the pool on the Gyro UI and let the ECLP do the rest. So Gyro's ECLPs marry the user experience and simplicity of StableSwap AMMs with the benefits of concentrated liquidity of Uniswap's v3. So the best of both worlds. Okay, rounding things off, we'll talk about the ECLP's use cases. So the ECLP is currently heavily featured in the gyroscope system. The secondary markets for the GYD stablecoin, where trading is expected to occur between the price bounds set by the primary markets, mint and redeem quotes, liquidity is concentrated around the peg level of 1. But some of it is unevenly distributed to the lower levels for niche situations where the redemption price is at a discount. So unlike StableSwap, liquidity would not be provided by the ECLP for prices above 1, where we would not expect trading. And this is because, of course, arbitrageurs are expected to mint at the price of 1 and sell into the secondary market, ensuring that there is that upper bound at price 1. Also, in our reserve vaults, concentrated liquidity means that there's increased swap fees caused by trading activity between the stablecoin reserve assets. So then this helps to bolster the reserve health in the long run. The reserve vaults are currently implemented in the Gyro dynamic stability mechanism, like primary markets. And one of the reserve assets is the LP token to the LUSD CurveUSD ECLP. Okay, so for both Lido's staked ETH and Liquidity's LUSD, trading occurs within the specified price range bounded by mint and by the mint and redeem prices of the derived assets. Again, there's no need for any liquidity to be maintained outside this trading range, so the ECLP can be calibrated to concentrate liquidity to fit the market conditions. So benefits over StableSwap, as mentioned before, include not wasting liquidity provision to parts of the trading range that should never occur, for example, above the mint price or below the redemption price. And pool creators can set pool parameters upon construction to optimize liquidity provision given the current trading market data and any other factors such as tokenomics, which could affect the price and trading activity of the pair. So another huge benefit of the ECLP is our use of these things called rate providers. So what happens in an AMM when one or more of the trading assets is a yield-bearing asset? So for example, you've got Lido's wrapped staked ETH and wrapped ETH pair. The wrapped staked ETH is designed to keep your balance fixed, while your balance of the underlying staked ETH increases over time. So we'd expect, as the external market price changes between the two assets, driven in part by this yield, the AMM price would become stale and is only brought back into market equilibrium by arbitrageurs. But the problem is the arbitrageur's profit is the liquidity provider's loss in this zero-sum game of trading. To reflect the yield and the change in prices, liquidity providers in other concentrated liquidity pools have to actively manage their position and manually shift their liquidity to fit their desired liquidity distribution. But in contrast, the ECLPs use these external rate providers, which allow the yield to be endogenous to the pricing model. So in other words, you can see in the animation on the right, the liquidity distribution with ECLPs with yield-bearing assets shifts to the right over time as the yield naturally changes the relationship between the assets of the trading pair. So this prevents the need for arbitrage and allows the yield to end up in the hands of the liquidity providers instead. This is great news. It means that liquidity providers can rehypothecate their yield-bearing assets and add liquidity provision yields and other external incentives to gain some juicy cumulative yield. So we actually recently teamed up with Aave to launch these brand new Aave rehype pools, where liquidity providers can provide Aave static A tokens and enjoy the yield of Aave lending, with the yield from AMM liquidity provision, with external third-party incentives for LPing, and finally, brand new Gyroscope spin points. And they're all available from our UI today at app.gyro.finance. Okay, so in conclusion, ECLPs, elliptical concentrated liquidity pools, combine the user experience and auto-compounding of curved stable swap pools with the concentrated liquidity and asymmetrical liquidity distribution of Uniswap v3's concentrated liquidity pools. With a ton of parameters to choose from, ECLPs provide this huge amount of customizability for specific use cases. And they're already being used today with stablecoins and LSDs and have a TVL of over $25 million. And in the future, we're planning to add updatable parameters to allow for this more dynamic ECLP. So the ECLP is integrated with top order routers such as 1-inch, Balancer, and OX. The smart contracts are audited by some of the leading names in the industry. And our team is supported by some big players in DeFi. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I'll end with this slide summarizing the differences between the different AMMs I discussed.